Hey guys, it's Tony, and welcome to Back to the Future Week. This week we're going to be celebrating Back to the Future's 30th anniversary, as well as realizing that tomorrow we'll actually be living in the future. With that said, we got to start all the way back in the beginning with Back to the Future 1. To get a little bit of the background, the origin of Back to the Future actually started with Bob Gale, as he visited his parents back in Missouri in 1979. While stumbling around their basement, he came across his father's high school yearbook. Curiously thinking about it, he wondered if he would have been friends with his own father. With this idea in mind, he went back to Hollywood to pitch the idea to his friend Robert Zemeckis. Zemeckis actually agreed with the idea, and they decided to turn it into a time travel movie. The first draft of Back to the Future was written in 1980. From 1981 to 1984, the movie was pitched around to various studios. The reason the movie never got picked up between that period was actually because of two reasons. One, Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale's horrible film career at that point. Yeah, in case anyone didn't realize this, Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale, while they wrote good movies, they weren't successes at the box office. I Want to Hold Your Hand, Used Cars in 1941 were all failures. So the assurance that any studio would have wanted to pick this film up, especially at that point in their careers, that would have been a risky gamble. Reason number two, Fast Times at Ridgemont High came out in 1982 and was a huge success. Along with that came films like Porky's and Bachelor Party from 20th Century Fox. These films were huge successes, so everyone wanted to try to get into the sexy teen romps. Back to the Future wasn't exactly that. In fact, there was one studio at that period that was kind of interested in the film, but didn't exactly pick it up. What studio was that? That was Disney. Disney said no because they were really weirded out by Marty and Lorraine's relationship when Marty goes back to 1955. Other than that, how the film actually got made was a pretty interesting story. Because Zemeckis and Gale weren't able to get the movie produced between that period of 81 to 84, Zemeckis ended up taking a job from his friend Michael Douglas to direct the film Romancing the Stone. Romancing the Stone became a huge success. Universal noticed and approved Gale and Zemeckis' pet project to get produced. Back to the Future started production in 1984, with the intention of the film being released for the summer of 1985. There were a few problems, however. One of the problems was they were having a hard time trying to find a main actor. And this kind of happened because Michael J. Fox, at the time, who they wanted from the beginning, was busy working on Family Ties. In fact, it's actually kind of a surprise of how they got him in the first place. Because they couldn't get Michael J. Fox in the first place, they ended up having to choose between C. Thomas Howell and Eric Stoltz in 1984. Universal wanted Eric Stoltz, so Eric Stoltz got chosen. They filmed 1 month of footage with Eric Stoltz, and then they realized he wasn't as funny as they wanted him to be. And so they canned him, and they got Michael J. Fox. Michael J. Fox ended up sleeping about 2 to 3 hours a day because he would spend days working on Family Ties and nights on Back to the Future. With that said, other problems that kind of came up around this point was there were a few script changes from the studio, like changing what was supposed to be a chimpanzee to a dog, changing Lorraine's name, which was supposed to be Meg, to Lorraine, and one the writers realized was going to be a big problem. The time machine was originally supposed to be a fridge. They decided to turn that into a car. That was a good move on them. One change, however, didn't happen. The head of Universal was Sid Sheinberg, and Sid Sheinberg had the suggestion of changing the title of the film from Back to the Future to Spaceman from Pluto. Executive producer Steven Spielberg, and yes, I mean E.T. and Jaws Steven Spielberg, ended up writing a memo back to Sid Sheinberg saying, "Haha, good joke." Obviously, the crew wasn't going to take that seriously, and Back to the Future stuck. One more change that happened that actually got approved, Doc was originally supposed to be Professor Brown. To the plot of the movie. It's 1985, and cool hip teen Michael J. Fox, I mean Marty McFly, whoops, can't be living a much better perfect life. He's got a girlfriend, a promising future with a band, but is lacking in one problem. His family is really dysfunctional. He's got an alcoholic mother and a wimpy father. His siblings could care none of the less. So one morning, Marty gets a call from Doc Brown, telling him to meet him at the Twin Pines Mall the next morning. Marty goes there and discovers that Doc had invented a time machine. And after Doc gets shot down by some Libyan terrorists after the first test became a success, Marty accidentally gets in the car and sends himself back to 1955. Now Marty's got to find a way to get back home before he ends up damaging his own existence, which, by the way, he's already done by accidentally causing his parents not to meet. And now Lorraine has fallen in love with him. On top of that, Marty's also got to try to defend himself from the bully Biff, played by Thomas Wilson. So, how is the movie? Well, many people say it's a classic. I agree. It's a classic. I love the film. I really do. It's one of my favorites. My favorite part of Back to the Future overall, other than the great story and the great characters, if I had to pick out one scene that I really loved in particular, it's the scene I rewind over and over again when I was a teenager enjoying this movie. That would be the skateboarding sequence. I've seen that scene over and over again. In fact, in my head when I would sleep, I would dream of that scene over and over again because I would just want to reenact it. That scene just blew my mind. And you gotta remember, like, I barely got into skateboarding. Like, I only use skateboarding to just get from point A to point B. But just seeing that was just enough to say, wow, this could be something else. Other than that, it's a really great movie. It's a classic. Hands down, one of my favorite movies of all time. So, with that said, I will see you guys next time when we'll be talking about the sequel that many people seem to have mixed feelings about. So, we'll see you later.